True enough.
There we go. And we're live on Facebook and LinkedIn. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a Lunch and Learn on Monday, the 26th of April. That date is ingrained in my mind because it's my children's birthday, one of the few dates I remember every single year. But it's great to have Angela Podmore from Kinetic with us. Hello, Angela. How are you?
Hi, morning, afternoon even. Yes, I'm fine, thank you. All the better for this glorious sunshine.
It is lovely outside, isn't it? Lovely outside. So I'm sure we've got people listening to us that want to go and grab some lunch as well. So we'll crack on. But it's great to have you with us, Angela. And I know you're going to tell us all about the marketing enablers in a moment. But before we do that, if you're listening to us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, please do ask any questions of Angela. She is a fountain of all knowledge of everything marketing and how to make a great PR story. And she can turn any business around with her skills and experience. So please do engage, ask any questions. And if you're listening to this after we've gone live, and maybe you're watching it this evening, tomorrow, at the weekend, please do ask and connect with us. Our contact details will be on the screen at various points in the webinar, and we'll happily have that conversation with you and engage and to hopefully answer any of your queries. But Angela, it's great to have you from Kinetic. You're not a stranger to us here at Action Coaching Birmingham on the Lunch and Learns. How's it going?
Very well, thank you. Touch wood. As I say that, amazing. Don't you think it's amazing how a business that's used to being office-based and the culture that you inculcate in there, that you just switched on that Monday evening? We waited until then. I was in touch with my team on WhatsApp throughout, but we waited until Boris said, if you can work from home, you should. And that Tuesday, we all switched. And we're only just coming back now. April 26th, as you say, ingrained on your memory because of your children. And then we've only just started saying the last couple of weeks, we said on a Tuesday, we'll always be in the office, but I'm in, I think, all week this week. So I'm so busy.
It's all about that gradual changing back to, or getting used to a new norm, isn't it? I'd say never going back to how we were, but a new norm and a new way of working, Angela.
I've spoken to a client this morning and I said, I'm really looking forward to meeting up. How about we come up and see you this week? And they said, well, no, we've got no meeting room. And I said, oh, okay, perhaps not. I said, but actually, the weather's grand. I don't mind wrapping up and we can sit outside, even if it's just for half an hour. It'd be so nice to meet outside, and perhaps it's a standing meet. Oh, no. And I totally understand that. I think we've been so insulated, haven't we? And this person I was talking to, I think he's in his 60s, so he's obviously a bit more nervous than perhaps me in my 50s. But my view is we've got to get back to normal. We've got to get this economy back up and running.
We have indeed. In fact, you remind me, Angela, I went out for dinner yesterday to celebrate the birthday for the kids. And
dinner?
We went out for lunch, and I've never seen my children eat their lunch so quick. They're all wrapped up in their hoods and coats and making sure the food doesn't go cold. But then they had ice cream. I couldn't believe it. Sitting outside, the children having ice cream, but kids never get up the opportunity to have a nice dessert, do they? But today we're talking about Angela, and I know that we've talked about always making sure we've got a plan to stand out of the crowd, haven't we? We want to make sure that throughout, and I've been saying to all my clients, and I'm sure you have yours, whatever you do, don't cut down the tree, that marketing tree, but prune it slightly if you need to. But if you cut down the tree, it will never fruit again. We need to look after it, nurture it, and make sure in our business that people know that we're still there and still there to do business with.
That's the big thing, isn't it, Stephen? You've got to make sure that people know we're still trading, we're still alive and well, and look at how many businesses have pivoted. Look at Chris Conley, had to go away from his fine wine trade on Livery Street to delivering boxes. There he is, white van man. Why not, though? People were very grateful to him in that lockdown.
My favourite lockdown story of all is a florist that teamed up with the local greengrocer because she struggled to get hold of the flowers and pot plants, and started delivering fruit and veg boxes. And those two businesses are still working in partnership and plan to long into the future. But an opportunity they never would have thought of had we not gone into lockdown. So
necessity is the mother of convention.
Absolutely.
Oh, invention, not convention. The absolute opposite, invention.
But Angela, for those who are new to us here at Lunch and Learn, and perhaps not tuned in when you've been with us today, tell us a bit about what you do at Kinetic.
Okay, so we are a public relations consultancy. So we are the discipline that governs reputation. And if you think of your business reputation as everything you say, everything you do, and everything others say about you, it's a pretty broad and complex subject. And we've systemized how you can control that. So it's a pretty big deal. And it's unique IP to Kinetic.
And this lunchtime, Angela, you're going to talk to us about the 4 marketing enablers, is that right?
Yes, it's interesting that you're calling them the marketing enablers. They are actually just business enablers from David McLeod's point of view. Yes, shall I launch into what it's all about?
Yeah, please do. We'd love to hear more from you.
Okay, so it's all about engagement. How many business owners, Stephen, do you know that say, I just wish my team cared about my business as much as I do?
Absolutely, yes. It's about, they often talk about the behaviors and sort of having that same passion for the business. I guess that does change, doesn't it, when you're the business owner or an employee?
That's it, but it shouldn't need to change. And that's where people like Virgin is always cited, isn't it, for having highly engaged employees. And John Lewis, where the people are on the shop floor are also partners in the business. What you're seeing there are people coming to work on purpose. They're not just in it for the money. They're coming to work and putting their heart and soul into their work and not just their mind and body. Wouldn't we as business owners love every member of our team to be flooded with that sense of ownership, accountability and responsibility?
Absolutely. It seems like you've seen some of my slides before, Andrew. I know you have. We talk about staying above and below the line, don't we? That awe.
That's it. I love that. Yeah, I still use that to this day, Stephen. When you hear people blaming others, making excuses, going into denial about something that's not gone as they wanted, just tell them to pick up their oar, take ownership, accountability and responsibility.
We all I'll make you laugh, Andrew. We all slip into bed far too quickly and far too easily. Blame, excuse and denial, bed. But
yes.
We do, and it's a behaviour that we are naturally accustomed to. All human beings, our first response when we're on the playground and did you kick that ball into the tree? I can imagine the first response of any one of us would be, well, no, Jack told me to, or it was Jack's fault. We all.
It's childish. It's childish.
Absolutely. But as business owners, we need to lead from the front, don't we? We need to stay above the line. And before we need to look at ourselves and think, well, how can I take ownership, accountability, and responsibility to drive my business forward? And if you do that as a business owner, surely I would expect staff, team members, suppliers, your customers are going to aspire to want to work with you and be like you.
That's it. Exactly so. This is the difference, that you're not on your own if you're feeling this as a business owner, by the way, that 20% of workforces, according to Gallup, are what we're calling engaged, as in they're putting their heart and soul into their work and not just bringing their mind and body. It helps, I think, sometimes to think of this between the difference between discretionary effort and discretionary talent. People have a job description and they can just come to work and tick, 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 do that between the hours of 9 and 5:30, and then I put my pen down or whatever. We're looking at people who say, no, actually, I'm on this at 5:37 and I'm going to still be here at 6:37, I think, because I'm in flow. I'm thoroughly enjoying getting this nailed. I've wanted to do this for some time. It's an important goal. And those are the sorts of team members we're looking for, aren't they?
I think we've all worked with or potentially managed as business owners in the past. Those members of staff are what's in it for them. What's in it for me. And we need for a successful businesses to be successful, we need people who are going to be absolutely passionate and give all they can to the business. Just while we're talking about engagement, Andrew, I hope you won't mind me giving a bit of a plug for a tool that we have here at Action Coach called Engagement Multiplier. And if anybody's interested in finding out how engaged their staff are, we'd love to give you a free trial of that. It's a sort of a questionnaire that goes out to all your team. Find that anonymously. Their views of the business, their views of the leadership and the ownership of the business, and how engaged they are in terms of helping you to drive your business forward. So it's a great little tool. And I think, business owners should really want to find ways and finding out the views and motivations of their staff. But you're right, and what I love about that ownership, accountability and responsibility, Andrew, is by staying above the line, it sort of energizes every single one of us, doesn't it? And again,
absolutely, yeah.
That playground scenario, who do you want to spend time with? You want to spend time with those people who are energetic and positive. You want energy, positivity attracts positivity.
Precisely.
Repels negativity. Push each other away. So.
Well, we're going to cover all that in the next half an hour, sort of thing. So back in 2009, there was a huge amount of work done that culminated in what was called Engage for Success, but it's become known commonly as the McLeod report. And it was David McLeod, who was always at pains to mention his partner, Nita Clark. But he's from Dulux. Do you remember Apple White being invented? He invented the pale shades of white that we now still refer to at Dulux as Applewhite, I believe. Anyway, he's coming from this, not from a highfalutin academic background. He's been up to his waist in muck and bullets, working for these big organisations and all the politics that entails. So he understands how these organisations work. And he identified what he calls the 4 Engage for Success enablers. They are strategic narrative, engaging managers, employee voice, and integrity. And he said that this is relevant for all business. And a lot of people, when you'll talk to this, that it will seem less relevant for the micro, small, and even medium-sized enterprise, but it's absolutely crucial. It's critical. It's critical that even in micro business, say if you're a sole trader and you're about to take on your first employee, you need to make sure they're a team member and not an employee, not just coming to work for the money, but they're as equally engaged as you. But how do you judge? How do you recruit and judge that person is the right person for you? But you need these people to be as engaged as you. Otherwise, you're just working to fund their salary. You need to keep growing in that way. And it's unlikely that all of us are doing these 4 traits naturally. So shall I go through a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely, that'd be great, Angela. Did you want to share your screen, or are you just going to talk?
No, people can just listen to my dulcet tones if they wish.
Nice.
If they want to have a look at Engage 4, the numeral 4 success.org, Engage numeral 4 success.org, that's where there's a whole body of evidence there and material and other useful bits and bobs. But what I like about what David McLeod has done for us is he's made it all highly attuned to the SME, and the SME is making a promise here, and now its job is to make sure that its team delivers on that target. We must mind the gap that if we do this, that's good, because that means we're delivering above the promise that was made. But if we do this, that's too much, and we've gone way over and above what we said that we'd do, and in there lies our profitability. But we must be super careful not to disappoint, because when we disappoint, people go and say, oh, don't use them. Oh no, we used them and they were hopeless at this, that and the other. And if it's down here, it's called discussing. You've got what's called a toxic customer. So I want us to mind the gap between what we promise and what we deliver. So that's the marketing. See, there's also one on the team side, isn't there? On the team side, the team needs to know what's expected of them. Like children, we play better with boundaries. I'll explain that easier on. But every business needs a competitive advantage. If you ask most of these people working in these organisations, what's yours? They haven't a clue. They don't know what their competitive advantage is. They don't know how they're going to open new markets. They're frightened to innovate because they don't know whether that's in their job spec and whether they should pipe up with a good idea, or is that taken as criticism by one of the leaders that we're not doing everything perfectly and brilliantly at the moment. And every organisation these days has got to give phenomenal customer service, isn't it? The bar is continually going up, and that's why we must continually improve what we're doing wherever we are in an organisation. Does that all make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. And I think, if you've got a really clearly defined why and USP in your organisation, and your team know that, it just helps across the organisation to really, set yourself apart. There's no point in competing on the same points. You need to know places where you're different, how you're different, and why, and really make sure that sort of filters across everybody in the organisation. That's so important, isn't it, Angela?
Absolutely. And so many people just don't get this in business, and they wonder why they struggle, because you're not clear as to the customers, unclear as to, or the potential customers unclear as to what they're going to get from you. You need to be super, super clear. So the first thing about strategic narrative is you need a story. I think people are sick of hearing stories. I'm not going around telling stories. I'm a business person. Everything I say is straight and true. But what is your compelling stories? I've met Brad Sugars, your ultimate boss, Stephen, and I would say he absolutely is a compelling story in his own right. If you hear about how he started out and the role of his father in his business, etc., he tells a really good story. That story seems to be consistent throughout the Action Coach network. Is it?
It is, yes. I think we've all got. We've got our own examples that we'll bring to the business. We've got examples from across the Action Coach family, which really help. And the story behind Action Coach itself, Brad working in a photocopier shop, and many of his clients, sort of disappeared. He's wondering where were they going, and realized they weren't going out of business, which is what sort of really enthused him to start Action Coach in the first place. But I think is it Richard Branson who talks about a great PR story being infinitely better than any front page ad.
Yeah.
And it's so true, isn't it? A great story that backs up why you're doing something, who you are, what your business is about, is so much more powerful than any advert you could place.
Absolutely, because we read the newspapers, and forget newspapers, when I use that term, we read the press. We're looking at titles such as, say, the Daily Telegraph, Mail, Sun, Mirror, whatever. We're reading them for the editorial, not for the ads. The ads have to scream at you to get your attention, don't they? Whereas editorial, you're actually looking for, am I interested in that? And the other thing I like is that expression of, if you're pushy, if you were to put say that's your hand, Stephen, I'm pushing you, you're going to push back, aren't you? It no longer works. These days, you have to draw people towards you, which I know we've talked about in the past, haven't we? Do you know what I'm doing?
I'm smiling, Angela, because only at the weekend I talk about my children all the time, but I was talking to them about Chitty Bang Bang. Do you know the story?
No, go on.
And the child catcher that talks about, with their ice creams and he uses that very hand movement to draw them in onto the ice cream cart before it turns into a jail cart. But it's about drawing them in, tempting them with all sorts of lovely treats,
I prefer the dove from above. Remember that?
Yes.
The dove from above. You said, for all those people who are under 35, I would imagine, there used to be this TV program with Vic Reeves and Bob Mortimer, and it was called Shooting Stars, and they used to bring down the dove from above, but they had to attract the dove from above. And that's, anyway, I know that's a silly story, but if that helps you, stop weeing over your customers. So when they come on your website, it's not, we do this, we do that, we do the other. I'm not giving a fig for what you do. I'm interested in what you're going to do for me. Anyway, so if you think about,
I shall remember all days. Don't wheel all over your customers. I love
yes, indeed. I'm sorry. It's there's worse than that as well, where that one comes from, but not Rona.
Proved, Angela, that a great story, we remember it. I shall go off and remember that phrase and that little story from today for the rest.
Yes, precisely. Anyway, you don't want to be weeing over people. You want to attract them towards you because you're being so compelling. There's a brilliant book called They Ask, You Answer. Have you heard of this? It's by Marcus Sheridan.
No, the book I often use is Alan Pease, Questions Are the Answers, but I'm sure it's similar.
Oh, thanks for that. Yeah.
Questions are the answers, and it's all about asking the right questions, attracting your customers, having the right response.
Lovely, that's it. Well, what your website should be the font of all knowledge with regards to your specialist subjects. So it's the centre of gravity for all your communications. But we're diverging from the point here. You need a story, and this story needs to be consistent as to the origins of the business. It's called a backstory, and the better the reason for it, like Patagonia outerwear or Tom's shoes, the better. And then that consistency plays out in your vision, mission, values, which is beautifully, for vision, mission, values, all we're talking about, you have a purpose, you have a why. If you don't know about why, go on to a TED Talk by Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K. Yeah, we love him, don't we, Stephen? And he's had 50, yes, superb, yes, that's it. Start with why. 54 million views on YouTube, can't be right. Your mission, what are you doing differently? What's your competitive advantage? And your values are, how do you do things your way? What is, say, the Action Coach way? Some people go into behaviors. I'm thinking, people have got enough to remember with vision, mission, values. Your behaviors, your code of conduct should be the same as in your values, but we can go into that in greater detail perhaps on another time if you like. All of that cascades into your business plan in terms of your goals, your objectives, make them measurable, of course, but then on the marketing front and the operational front, how does that relate to me as a person? Where have we been? Where are we going? How are we going to get there? Basic management stuff, but so many people aren't getting that right. By the way, somebody who is getting it right, he asked his team at like an away day to do a 2-minute video as this is how good Action Coach or Kinetic could get. And to say 2 minutes on the future, they put it into a video and it's absolutely inspired their whole team. So I think that's a cracking idea. Do a 2-minute video focusing on where your business is going. Know that, how we say customers are always right? They're not. they're not. Some customers aren't for kinetic. For instance, we're a values-driven business. We like businesses to be values-driven. It's not an absolute necessary, but if it's clear to us that all you're in business for is to amass lots of money and there's no real purpose behind the business in terms of you wanting to be different, whatever, we'll find that difficult to work with. But we've got loads of businesses. One is in at the moment, Kushu, Anna Swift from Kushu. She's absolutely a values-driven business in how she fits shoes for children's feet, no matter how strange their shape or how normal they are. She gets them shoes that give them the freedom that they can go anywhere. Anyway, so customers are not always right. You need to get off the fence and say exactly what is your sweet spot as per your customer, your ideal customer, and that will disenfranchise them. It will turn some off, and that's fine. We don't want to attract every dove from above. We only want a few. So that's strategic narrative. You've got to have a story. Yeah. Can I go on to engaging managers?
Absolutely. No, I'm loving this, Andrew. Loving it.
Well, I'm full of it, I'll tell you, Stephen. Right. So engaging managers. This is built on the back of lots of research that 62% of US workers were asked, would you prefer a new manager or a pay rise? Guess what the answer was, Steve?
A new
Guess
manager.
what the answer was? It was 62%. That's shocking, isn't it? 62%. Yeah, and McLeod says, I doubt if it would be that much different in the UK. I think you might be right. Anyway, so 62% of US workers would prefer a new boss to a pay rise, which is a shocking stat in itself. So the other 38%, if you think 38%, oh no, I'll have a pay rise, please. I'm quite happy with my manager. What was it that those managers were doing? What were their secrets to that 38%? Do you know what? It's just so beguilingly simple. They sit down and they talk with the individual, not to the individual, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and dictatorial, whatever. They sit down, they talk to the individual, they explain their role in the success of the company over the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever. But they give a time period and say, we're going to be reviewing this in your PDP or your IDR. What are they? Personal development plans, individual development review, blah, blah. Appraisal. Should we just short term an appraisal? But they sit down and they say, could you get this done, please, by this sort of time frame? That constitutes success. If you can do that, jobs are good and sort of thing. They give examples to bring colour to it. So it's not just, Steve, off you go and come back with a moon on a stick. It's, look, somebody came back with the sun the other day on a stick. They explain perhaps how they did that and say, this seems improbable, but there's good reasons why we think this can possibly be done. Engaging managers trust their team. They don't call them I would say they don't call them employees. Justin King, who's the old CEO of Sainsbury's, he said that it's always a pejorative term to call somebody staff or an employee. It sort of says the power down to, oh, you're just an employee or you're just a staff manager, a staff member. And that was often against, the management and the staff, the leadership and the staff sort of thing. So I think there's a lot of truth in that. And I prefer the term, as he does, colleagues. It's my colleagues. I don't say I own, I do say I own Kinetic, but I say I work with the team here. It's not that they are working for me. We work together. They're only here because they choose to be here. They could go all manner of places if they didn't, if ever I say anything to disenfranchise them. They task them clearly. So they've got a clear idea of what success looks like and when it should come, what sort of shape and form it should take. And then on Saturday, I was talking to Carl Arnson. He's the head of Worcester Bosch in Worcester for the libraries there. I'll send you over a link so that people, if they want to see it, they can see this interview. He was fascinating. He said that human resources, what an awfully named department that is. It should be the employee experience department, and isn't that the truth? That you should be, yes, yeah, he came out with loads more than that though. It's well worth, that's a video worth watching in its own right. Okay, so that's about engaging managers. You can't just have the compelling story. You've got to have managers who make that engaging for you, and you trust that manager. And if you watch these videos that are on our website, www.kineticpr for public relations.co.uk, and then internal communications plans, they're all on there. And if you look on there, you'll see David McLeod says, so we asked these people that have these highly engaging managers, is this somebody that you'd go to the pub with? And I went, no, not really. No. He's nice, he's clear, or she's very clear, and you know where you stand with them. And if anything goes wrong, you immediately know where you stand with them and how to put it right. So I trust them greatly because they're so clear. But no, they're not a bag of laughs. They're not that popular in that way because they've got, like the old head girl and deputy head girl. You've got the respect of the sixth form and the lower school rather than just being popularity plus. Okay, so can I move on to the third one, which is employee voice?
Absolutely, yes. No, tell us more.
Okay, give your team a damn good listening to. That's what he says on it. They're full of great ideas. They are often in the front line. They are often best placed to find out where opportunities are for improvement. And you must be so careful with employee voice. You must listen when things are going wrong. You don't want to have an open door policy that's only open for good news. You want people coming to you that have got bad news as well, because you need to nip issues in the bud so that it's not your customer coming to the phone and complaining. The other thing is we've worked with Tenet Law, they're fraud specialists. Employee voice is the cheapest smoke alarm in the business. You want people, when they see something untoward going on, or just suspecting that something untoward is going on, you need employees to pipe up really quickly and say something untoward is going on. And the reason for this is the consumer spotlight, user-generated content, if you think about all this social media that we're doing these days, that has never been brighter and stronger. It's always been pretty strong, hasn't it, Stephen? You remember Watchdog and Have Your Say and Points of View, etc.
You're taking me back to a childhood era now.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Charman. Anyway, yes, but it's true, isn't it? There's always been some, letters to the editor or just people whistleblowing. That's always gone on, but of course it's on drugs now. It's on steroids because of what we can do on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, let alone all the others. So you really do need to listen and learn to continually improve your business, because ideas are often born on the front line, because that's the inspiration. The customer is often the inspiration, and you can't timetable. That's what Carl from Bosch was saying on Saturday. You can't say, right, 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, we're going to have a good idea. Sort of give right. They have to be given rise to, don't they, that they can bubble up.
We often hear talk at Action Coach, well, a couple of things really, but we often talk about BFOs, which is that blinding flash of the obvious. And by having conversations with employees, Angela, there may well be that aha moment where there's things as a manager, as a leader, as an owner of a business that but actually you haven't connected and put into action. Into your employees having those conversations. And Angela, the other thing I would share is as I say to many of my clients, the two most expensive words in business, Angela, you know what they are?
Oh, go on.
I know.
Ah, yes.
They are the most expensive words in business, because if as a manager, as a business
I like that.
You always have the mindset of I know, your business never will get where you want it to be in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time. It's instead of saying I know, and I've sat in many, I've worked in the public sector, the private sector, and sat in many rooms, Angela, where I've seen the glazed look over people's face when you're having a conversation, and they're sitting there, they're just doing it very politely with their arms closed. They're thinking, I know what you're going to say. I know this won't work. And as children, they, I've got to say, I go back to my kids all day today. Go back to my 10-year-olds. They're experts at saying, "Daddy, I know better than you." They know how to operate the DVD player or the tablet. But we do it more politely as adults. But I think in the work setting, if we try and move to a mindset of instead of I know, but isn't that interesting?
Yes.
When we're talking to our employees, engaging with them, because sometimes some of the best ideas come bottom up, not top down.
That's it. It's bound to be, isn't it, really? Because they're inspired by chatting to the customers. And it will be a jokey aside, oh, it would be lovely if you delivered this to my house. blow me down. Carl at Van Monkey, we put it out there. Carl, we need a van to pick up a ceramic kiln tomorrow afternoon. I know you're in Stourbridge, but we're in Worcester, WR9, blah, blah, blah. He said, don't worry about that. I'll deliver it. Oh, my word. That's marvellous. And you pick it up. Oh, my word. That's even more marvellous.
It's about tapping into the resources you've got around you. But I do love that phrase, Angela. You know, the employee voice is the best smoke alarm in the business. It's another phrase I shall take away with me. You them today, but
and cheap as well. It's very cheap, isn't it? Because you're paying the people already, so you don't need to have masses of protocols and things that weigh your organisation down. You just have people that are straight and true and honest to the mission and vision and values and where you go with affairs.
Yeah, so, always do engage. You know, engaging is so important, and listen. And you know, not every idea is going to be a great idea, but if you don't listen at all and you always have that I know mindset, you're never going to be able to you know, get perhaps some of those best ideas to take your business forwards.
Love that. And yes, if you want to shut somebody up, ignore them. Ignore them, and they'll shut up, no doubt, because they think I've said this before and nothing has happened, etc. Feedback is absolutely key. Not just you said we did, it's we said we did, isn't it? As a result. And the thing I think that is more important perhaps than anything else is people need these boundaries. That's what I call about a vision, mission, values. You need to have those boundaries in place, because it's like children. If you put children in a playground without any fences around them and say there's a main road nearby or just any other road, the children will congregate towards the centre. Whereas if you put a fence around it, they'll play right up to that fence. And we're the same. For psychological safety, we all seek psychological safety, that if I'm going to pop up with an idea, I'm not going to be blasted, as it were. Like children at work, we need boundaries. If you think of that school playground, we need that vision, mission, values to say, as long as you're within this framework, you're going to be safe. And I tell you, if you need to model this on anyone, I think it's the automotive sector. Look how cars have come on. When we were kids, our mum and dad's cars, they were forever breaking down, rust buckets, the Allegro with its square wheel. There were some really naff, well, mind you, some people love it for that, don't they? So I'll shut up. There were some really naff ideas, though, weren't there, as well? Anyway, the Kaizen, Lean, it's all about building on the shoulders of giants, standing on the shoulders of giants, gradually getting up that ladder of continuous improvement.
Absolutely.
Can I go on to integrity? That's the last one.
Yes, no, please do.
Last one. So we've talked about these 4 enablers that are going to enable you to lift productivity, that will make you stand out versus your competitors and make you rake in the profits, because people are coming to you and they want to pay a premium for your service. So integrity, do what you'll say you'll do. Chris at Lumion, Chris Goldby says, it's just such sage advice, Ange. So actually, Auntie Lil's advice when I set up Kinetic is perhaps the most sage. Make sure your ins are more than your outs. Anyway, but he likes this one. Do what you say you'll do. Make sure there's as little gap as possible between what you say you're going to do and why you're doing it and how you're doing it and what you actually do. So when the push comes to shove, the easy way to tell whether a value is still straight and true for your organisation is it costs you money to do it. There's a good example. We do Kinetic Kickstarter, which is, you know, from as little as £250. We'll do an intervention where we decide this is your competitive advantage. And the lady I did it with, she's bordering on a charity. She's a social enterprise. And she said, would you mind recording this? So that I said, yeah, as long as you don't share it, absolutely happy with you recording it. First one went across a treat. Second one, not so fast. It took us quite a bit of my time to try and solve this. And when I'd exhausted all my options, I had to hand it over to our IT guys and said, please help this lady do this. They came back and said, Ange, happy to do this as part of your IT contract. If it goes outside, we'll charge you. And I thought, you know what? It's just important. I said she could have the video. She needs it. And that's care. Our first value is care. But in showing that, I show that we care and that this is important, and it doesn't matter how many emails or phone calls or people that get involved in it, you are going to get the video of our session together. So you need to make sure that your behaviours and your values are consistent with what you say they are, and most importantly, It has to be from the managers and the leaders' points of view. They have to carry through on those promises that they do. There's loads of examples that I can give you. I was only in Wilko, as in Wilkinson, yesterday. Having acted on behalf of the Wilkinson family, I can say they're absolutely a values-driven organisation. You can feel the family in that store, and I'm really glad to see that they're surviving all manner of winds. Forget COVID and Brexit, the internet, etc., etc. If there's a gap, you're going to get mistrust, and that's where, when you get into low trust, you're never going to have enough staff, because people are saying, "Oh, I've been asked to do this, but actually I'm a bit worried about it, because if it goes wrong, I know what happened to him so far. He was sent off, to Siberia or whatever." And this is the culmination of where we're at, really. What I would like people to understand from this video today, Stephen, is that when you're innovating, you're often doing things for the first time, and it's difficult to know whether you're on the right lines or not. And sometimes it will go spectacularly wrong, not just wrong. Think of Hoover and the airplane ticket fiasco, the sales promotion fiasco when you bought a washing machine. But it all depends how you as a leader or a manager, it depends on how you react when that failure happens. And McLeod comes out with lots of truisms in these, David McLeod does in these videos on our homepage, but he says, trust arrives on foot and leaves on horseback, and that's a truism, isn't it? He says that we judge others by their behaviours, yet we expect to be judged by our intentions. And I've certainly fallen foul of that trap in the past. But integrity is what you do when nobody's watching, and you've just got to make sure that that is straight and true in your organisation, because this is my final point. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. The way you do things, the culture of your organisation cannot be trumped by somebody coming out with, "Oh, we've just started offering this." Culture will beat another strategy every time. Hopefully that's helpful.
No, I completely agree with you, Andrew. You've got some great points. Acting with integrity and honourably at every stage in the business. It's a bit like disciplining a child. If you're not going to carry it through, the children will start to learn, actually, I can carry on doing what I do when I like, because you don't mean what you say. It stems from that, and I used a lot of children's examples today, but it is so important that if we say we're going to do something, if we make a promise in business to colleagues, to customers, to our teams, that we stand by that, or we explain our actions otherwise, and we stand up and be accountable, particularly as business owners. We need to be accountable for everything we do. But some brilliant points there, Angela. I love, the smoke alarm. We shouldn't wheel over our customers. I'm making notes from you as well that I will use, as I'm sure you do when you talk to me.
I do.
Do think of those expensive words in business. The I know, because I do know business owners that have come to me to begin with that sort of mindset, and people have come to Action Coach thinking, why do I need a coach? I know it all. But it's when you go back and think about what's being said and think, am I actually with integrity applying what I think I'm applying to my business? If I was doing everything I possibly could, why am I still static at the moment? It's about having that, isn't that interesting approach? And also engaging with your employees. I love that as well, Angela. You talked about that this morning, this lunchtime. That aha moment, that blinding flash of the obvious, as we talk about it here at Action Coach. Often those great ideas come bottom up in the business, and from the customers as well. If you've got people who talk to customers all day, every day, they are your front line. Listen to them and talk to them. And my last acronym of the day, Angela, is those critical non-essentials. Be a manager, be a leader in your business who gets to know your employees. I love the idea of just sitting down, having a coffee. Yes, you're going to give some instructions or make some requests, but do it in a way where you want to get to know and like and trust, and they want to get to know, like and trust you as well. So
there's a wonderful quote about how, as a business, we're no longer just responsible for our team's performance. Obviously, that's always been the way for millennia that we've looked at. Well, perhaps not millennia, but you know what I mean. Centuries that we've looked at how our team are performing. We're now responsible for their well-being, and I think that's what's been brilliant about COVID. That it's made us realise that not just their physical well-being, their mental well-being And if you are very clear with somebody with regards to what you expect from them, let's face it, that's one of the most stressful role in the organisation, is one where you can't. But secondly, that you say this is what success looks like. You're not only aiding their well-being, you're aiding the profitability and the whole sustainability of your business.
I remember there's a great story. I don't know how accurate it is. But we start off by saying stories sell, and a great story I was always told of Karen Brady. I know she's either loved or loathed by various people. Being the manager of West Ham, when she came into being the manager of West Ham, she said to people around her, she said, "I don't care about the fans. I've got no interest in the fans at all." And as you can imagine, that got people's backs up. But she said, as the chief exec or the chairman of this football club, my main focus is the staff that work for me. And if I look after them, if I get to know, like, and trust them and do my job as a chairman, support them, they will support the fans and do their jobs and support the business. And then the business will keep, and it keeps that circle going. So it's about, you know, doing the right thing by your team around you, you know, and really making sure you engage in an effective way and understand what's working, what's not working. As you say, where those little fires are starting in the business, so you can go and put them out straight away. So important to engage in a positive way.
Or at least if you have a fire, you go to the customer and say, by the way, we've got a fire on board, we know about it, and this is what we're doing to do it. You know, we trust a brand more if it's failed and it's putting it right in a way that we approve than one that's never failed in the first place. But Richard Branson's the same, by the way, because I think, is it 3? Is it that you look after your team because the team look after your customers and the customers look after the business and the business looks after, that's the cycle, isn't it?
Yes, I think.
That circular economy.
I go back very briefly. I'm going back 20 years now, Andrew, so I'm digging a long way into my memory. But have you ever come across a lady called Mary Gober?
No. Go on.
Great book, Mary Gober, The Art of Customer Service. And I went in my early 20s on a customer service training course, and I was taken to Blenheim Palace in Oxfordshire. It was all about wowing from the very first point on that training course and treating me as a client in the way that she'd want to be treated herself. And she always talked about the fool's gold, the rock that sort of got that shiny edge, and talked about every difficulty in your business is an opportunity. It's an opportunity, you know, it's a golden opportunity to put something right. You can turn around your customers, you can turn around your team by listening, by understanding, and, you know, doing the right thing. So I'm sort of, lots of things going through my mind from my conversation this lunchtime, Angela. Some great points you've made, and I hope that our listeners have also you know, found that really useful. Just want to repeat, I know it's on the on the screen now, those videos you referenced, Angela, is on your website, is
yes, it is. So if you put a slash after .co.uk/internal-communications-plan, they're all in there, and they're such short and sweet little videos, no more than 10 minutes each, and I promise you that if you watch those, it just puts these 4 enablers into sharp relief, and I think it will just make you focus on, actually, this is what I need to be doing, and that the difference it will make. Do you know what? Just go up to your team and say, how could we be better making more of your initiative and your ideas and your feedback from the front line? Just that. If you just do one thing, just do that.
Absolutely. And if you want some help in doing that, I say, please drop me an email at birmingham@actioncoach.com or go to our website. We've got a great tool which we're happy to give you a free use of to see how you get on as a value builder.
I'd like to see that, please, Stephen, if you could send it to me. Yeah.
And engagement multiplier tool, which is absolutely brilliant. And it's just a tool that you can use with your team to really understand how engaged and how happy they are in the role. If you want, I'll certainly send you the information, Angela, and if anybody listening would like to find out more, then please do get in touch. For now, Angela, you've given me so much to go away and think of. I'm going to go away and talk to our employee experience department here at Action Coach, and but so much rich material from you, Angela. As always, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
As I've said at the beginning, if you want to reach out to Angela, her contact details on the screen. If you're listening to this on Facebook, on LinkedIn, later on, or even on YouTube, again, please do reach out, connect with us, and we're more than happy to have that conversation. Both Angela and I offer free, free telephone calls, free conversations, just to find out how we can work together, how we can support you in your business, and we'd happily have that conversation with you. So please do reach out to either one of us. But for now, Angela, thank you so much. It's good.
No, pleasure.
So well, looking lovely, and in your office.
Well, I'm trying.
I hope it won't be too long before we can go and have that ice cream together in the park.
Oh gosh, now you're talking, Mr. Charman. Yeah, bring that on.
Or even better, a gin and tonic on a Friday afternoon.
Oh, sat in the sun, yes, with the shades on.
Absolutely. Well, that moment is getting ever nearer with the sunshine. But thank you for now so much for
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
To you and to all our Lunch and Learn listeners. We'll be back on Wednesday, so we look forward to seeing you then.
Bye.
Have a great afternoon. Bye bye.
Yes, you too.